Firstly, thank you. Priorities. Well, the first thing is we're moving in. As you can see today, we're moving into Heston a year early to get ready for the brand new building, which is fantastic, which was a huge part of the discussions with me coming, the new training ground. And then it's getting to meet the staff. So the staff are in today and tomorrow, followed by the players on Wednesday. A lot of the players I've already spoken to. Me and Les are busy talking about the squad and one or two players that we'd like to add. Obviously, we've added Jake and Kenneth the last couple of days. There's a few bits in the in-tray, as you say, from last season as well that we need to discuss with some players that are in-house. But really, it's just getting to meet everybody who's the important people, who's the fabric of the club. You know, Caroline, who's looked after me really well, the PA, and people like that.
And in your career, I mean, you've had the chance to work with and be inspired by a lot of big names, Jose Mourinho, Jurgen Klopp, a lot of big names. Who's inspired you the most over the years, and what have you got the most out of?
I think Jurgen was a big influence when I was the under-23s coach at Liverpool under him. He came in and his personality, it fit the club really well. The club and him are on the same page, and you can see the success they've had from that. But there's been lots of influences. In my time at Chelsea, there was a lot of managers. Carlo Ancelotti was a big influence in terms of the way that he was. I wasn't close to him, but in terms of the way he carried himself around the building and the opportunities that he gave to the young players at the time was really refreshing at Chelsea. So that was a big influence. And latterly, Stephen and Gary McAllister have been fantastic influences on me as well, just as men, as much as football. So the time at Rangers and Aston Villa with them was fantastic also.
Perfect. And just a couple for you, if that's okay. Why was Michael man for the job?
I think myself and Lee Hughes went through a diligent process. We kind of did things a little bit differently to how we'd done them before. In the past, when we'd got rid of managers, we just had a list of people that came in and wanted the job. This time we kind of did it a bit by data, just put some data and conundrums into a pot, and they came out, and Michael came out top of that list. And so we did our due diligence in terms of that. Spoke to quite a few, and I think unanimously we wilted it down. The owners got involved, and Michael was the unanimous decision for us.
And what are you hoping he's going to get out of your squad next season?
I think looking at the squad, we've always spoken about development and taking the players that we've got. We can't go out and buy the £10 million player. So, you know, we take frees, we've taken players at a little bit less, and I think Eze's the best example of what we've done in recent times, and we've made them better players, and that still remains the same for the club. And, you know, looking at Michael's resume and what he's done in the past, we think he can bring that to us and get the best out of what we've got at this football club and the ones that come through the door after.
Perfect. Thanks ever so much.
Thanks. Further broadcast questions? Phil?
Congratulations, like you said. Just in regards to, you know, you say that you, as you said, worked under a lot of experienced head coaches and whatever. As far as the head coach is concerned, what do you think you've taken from them to be who you're going to be and what you're going to be in this particular role?
Well, I think I'm very clear on how I want to play football and how it should look, and standards. You know, I've been very lucky. I've had the golden spoon, if you like, with the clubs that I've worked at, and in terms of the standards, that certainly rubs off on you. I think communication is really important. Understand it's a management team, and not just myself and not just any manager. It's about the team that you build around you. It's about the club, the board, everything being aligned. And that was a lot of the discussions that we had for QPR in terms of aligning it. Was my ideas aligned with the club, vice versa? What was the plans for the future? So I think they're the really, really important things that I've learned over the period. I obviously had a short spell in Brazil, which was fantastic for me personally, but it was the only time really I worked in a club where I didn't feel things were aligned, and that sort of hit home to me even more. So I questioned the board as much as they questioned me coming in, which I think was important.
And Les, in regards to the appointment, from where the club was and obviously deciding to make a change, is this seen as sort of Michael then taking what's been created over the last 3 years and running with it?
Yes, that's what we're hoping so. You know, Mark was here, did a good job, moved the club forward, and we just felt we needed to progress from there. You know, a lot of people talk about us sacking Mark. We didn't sack Mark. Mark came to the end of his contract. and so we felt we needed to progress. And as you said, Michael, we thought it was the best choice for us to do that.
And I suppose, as you've alluded to, the pair of you really moving in here, sort of a newer start in all sorts of respects, isn't it? I mean, you know, is that maybe the messaging as well, that to the footballing world, to the supporters, is that, you know, this is the next step moving forward with this particular football club and what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, we've spoken about this for a long time, and it's taken a long time to come together. Sort of like the new training ground and everybody being on the same footsure. So it's an important step. Michael's come into an environment now where he's got an eye on the 23s, he's got an eye on the 18s. You know, all the players are going to be here. You know, it's, as he said, it's going to be a fantastic facility when it's finished. It's not quite there yet, but we're all on the same site now, so hopefully that will do the club well. It will definitely do the club well going forward.
And how excited, Michael, were you when the prospect was proposed? I mean, as you said, you had questions for the board just as much as they had questions for you, but, you know, how exciting a possibility is that?
I'm hugely excited by the opportunity. It's going to be a challenge. I think every football club is, certainly in the Championship. You have to fight for every single point. We'll be no different to anyone else, but in the last 12 to 18 months, there's been a lot of opportunities, and this one just felt different straight from the off. I know a little bit about the club, being a London boy, so it's nice to be coming home after so long outside of the capital. And I looked at the squad last year. Could I see myself in the squad? So there's a little bit of what I believe in this team already, and the answer to that was yes. And then, you know, the first meeting was very informal, but the discussions were extensive over a short period of time. Very, very quickly we communicated a lot, and I just felt different about this one. And I have to say, Stephen and Aston Villa were fantastic to me in that period as well, which went a long way to making the transition smooth to coming across.
Any further broadcast?
Yeah, Michael, was it a difficult decision to leave Villa, given everything that's going on there at this time?
It's in a fantastic place. It's got great owners. They're really backing it. It's an exciting time. You see the players that have come in. It was very difficult to leave Stephen's management team because he's such a very decent human being, and we had a strong partnership. We've always been honest with each other. I've always been honest that I want to be a manager, a head coach one day. And it was about the opportunity. We had that discussion when we left Liverpool to go to Rangers together. So he was very, very understanding. I felt the timing is not perfect, but it never is in football. But in terms of this season, the timing was good. And ultimately, I have to go my own route, and I wanted to be a head coach, and I felt this was a wonderful opportunity for me, a really, really good time for the club moving into the new training ground.
And in terms of style on the pitch, are you looking to, would it be a similar style to the type that Villa played, or have you got your own ideas about what you want to implement?
I think there'll be slight differences. At the end of the day, Stephen was the manager and I was the coach or the assistant, along with Gary and the other staff. So there'll be slight differences. I think each team's very, very unique, and we have a unique squad here, and I've got to get the best out of them with the management team and everybody to get a really competitive QPR team on the pitch, and that's what I'll be aiming to do. So there'll be some, but obviously give us some time, let's get started, and you'll see it in the season.
And just lastly, given your intimate knowledge of the club now, are you any plans to go back to get some players, or any deals in that sense, maybe loan deals?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit about that. I'm not guaranteed any favours from anyone. I think in football everyone has to do what's right for their young players. Aston Villa do have some very talented young players, so do the other clubs that I've worked with. But it's important that we have players that are here at QPR and invested in our future. So any of the players that we would look to bring on loan, is there an option that they can stay here longer term? Have we got the right players in the right position in this club at the moment? QPR is not going to be a holding ground for other players from other teams to develop, but we will use the loan market if and when needed. I think the 2 transfers we've done already are from boys that have been at big clubs in the past, and they're at a ripe age to kick on here. We have a group of players that are around 22 to 24 in our squad and in our club we think can develop to the next level. So that's what we'll be busy, all of us, working to fulfil their potential.
Thanks and good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi Michael. Obviously an interesting season for QPR last year, and obviously they're in a playoff push for most of it and kind of fell away towards the end. I mean, what do you think would mark a successful season for QPR next season? Is it another playoff push, for example, something that's realistic, do you think?
Well, I think the first 2 parts of the season were extremely positive. I think the team impressed themselves, and I think they become a real underdog or a dark horse to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, COVID and injuries and different things impacted the second half of the season without being directly involved in that. The last 16 games, I think only one team had less points than us, which was Barnsley, who went down. So I've got no massive aims looking forward right now until we start working. I think what's important is that we have to fight for every single point, like every team in the Championship, to be competitive, and then we'll see how things go. I think we've got a young squad with some really talented players, and they would have learnt a lot from last season, and you're hoping that with the ideas and the energy coming in of one or two players and the new management team, that can kick us on. We're certainly looking upwards and not over our shoulder to start off with, but I'm not going to make any big claims right now.
Obviously, you touched on it a minute ago. I'm sure you won't want to give too much away tactically, but QPR played a kind of three at the back system over the past couple of seasons. Is that something that you see continuing? Is that something that you've worked with before? Do you favour that system?
Yeah, I used it quite a lot at Liverpool. Basically, it's finding a system that suits the players and gets our best players on the ball in the right areas. And I think over the season and with 5 subs now in the Championship, it'll be interesting. I think we'll see more tactical changes from teams in games. The Jake Clark-Salter signing gives us the flexibility between a 3 and a 4, doesn't it? And we're really excited by that. We think with young Jimmy and Rob Dickey, we've got a really strong centre-half department as well, with 1 or 2 young ones coming behind that as well. So we'll see how all that pans out in pre-season.
I think having that experience of working with, obviously, Emi Buendia and Coutinho at Villa, 2 number 10s, obviously in the same team. You've obviously got Ilias and Chris Willock, who did that a lot last season. Do you think that could benefit you working here as well?
Yeah, of course. They're the 2 players that I looked at and thought, okay, I'm really excited to come to work with you. And I think that's a big thing when you get out of bed in the morning, who is exciting to come and work with. And they're 2 of the players that we've got here, of a number of players. They're very similar to Ryan Kent, Joe Aribo and Yanis Hadji that I had up at the road at Rangers as well. So I'm looking forward to working with them amongst others. But yeah, there'll be slight differences in the style, but I can see the angle that you're going, yeah.
And just finally, I mean, this one might be for Les as well. Just Albert Adomah, what's the latest with him in his future?
I think at the moment we're in discussions with Albert, and that was always going to take place. But hopefully we'll come to a conclusion before pre-season starts in a couple of days' time. So yeah, we're still just in discussions.
Cheers.